There we go. Right, let's get stuck in. So thanks everybody for popping along. It's going to be a fun little class today. I'll make sure, Leanne, I shut up before 11 so you can go to your PT.
No, that's all right.
So my name is Lizzie Macaulay. I am a launch specialist copywriter over at Write It. I'm the chief copywriter and in fact the only one, so I don't know why I say it like that, but here we are. We're just stepping in front and claiming our fabulousness. I'm also the founder of the Get It Done movement, which is all about taking the next step in your operations, next step in your business, making progress week by week, even if it's by tiny increments, because some progress is better than none, right? Try hard tennis chick, mum of two, charming, but tiny little crazy lovely people. I'm a hardcore introvert, but I've just practiced at maybe speaking sometimes, which we'll get into later. A lover of dresses with pockets, and a fine friend of the weightlifting community, as Leanne will well know as another lifter. All right, let's get stuck in. So introverts, don't think of introversion as something that needs to be cured. Spend your free time the way you like, not the way you think you're supposed to. That quote, when I was looking for kind of comment on introversion, that's something that really spoke to me, because we get caught up in the shoulds quite a lot, and I think as introverts we feel this pressure to be out there and do more and be more and more, when really that is the most draining, unpleasant, uncomfortable experience day to day. So my overall message, if you take away anything from today, is don't do that. Just do you, right? And you'll be able to find your rhythm, your own pace, your own volume, and you'll be able to find your own way of doing things that makes sense to you. It doesn't mean you have to join the rabble, doesn't mean you have to shout the loudest. You can do what you do and be successful at what you do, even if your voice isn't the loudest in the room. Okay. So I just wanted to sort of lead with that. Qualities of an introvert: we need quiet to concentrate, we're reflective, we're self-aware, we take time making decisions, we feel comfortable being alone, we don't like to work in a group, prefer to write rather than talk, we feel tired after being in a crowd, we have quality friendships over quantity, we daydream a lot. I got in trouble a lot at school for daydreaming. Would always be on my school reports. Good student, needs to concentrate more. Yeah, that was me. Retreat into their own mind to rest. And I don't know about you, but most introverts I've come across are not fans of small talk. Don't like it. That would include me too. Not interested in going to a party and so what do you do? That is one of the questions in the universe that makes me cringe the hardest, especially if it comes out of my own mouth. So I don't know. Anybody else kind of experience anything on that list? Is anything ringing true for you guys? Yeah. A little bit, says Leanne. Just a little. Everything, Tina. All of them, says Robbie. So yeah, it's really is common. And then when we become the face of our brand, we kind of have to step into that space of like feeling like we have to be effortlessly confident, and we have to have these big conversations, and it's all just a bit. Robbie says practicing being an extrovert is hard work. 100%. So let's just do our say, and we can be quiet and it will be absolutely fine. However, with a slight caveat that if we don't step out in front of our brands, we don't really get the traction that we need to grow. So how do we find that balance, I guess, is the question for today, right? I love this interaction as well. Keep it up. There'll be space for questions at the end too, but I love this kind of back and forth. So let's start with the top 5 mistakes we make as introverts. And I'm going to expand on each of these. First is perfectionism. Second is trying to appeal to absolutely everybody. The third is apologizing for ourselves. And this possibly, I could end up on a bit of a feminist rant here. So if that happens, feel free to slap me back into place and say, stop talking. we get your point. Number 4 is that we copy others. And number 5 is that we make this big assumption that nobody wants to hear from us, which is a big mistake, because you know what? You've got an amazing, unique voice that has something very specific to say. You've come here with a particular message, and it's really important that everybody in your universe, the people you attract to you and your brand, hear what you have to say. Okay. So let's dive in, shall we? Oh, okay, so let's talk about perfectionism. Are there any perfectionists in the room? Yeah, okay, that's okay. I am a recovering perfectionist. Yeah, Robbie too, Leanne, yes. It's a hard thing to get over, but it kind of looks like delaying. So we don't say, oh, breakfast is done, Robbie, great job. So it kind of looks like putting off doing the thing. So maybe not sending the email, or thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about whatever you're doing instead of actually just doing it. Maybe it is taking hundreds of takes of something, or just getting tripped up in your words because you're so busy thinking about the thing you're trying to say that you end up and it all kind of comes out, but then you retake and retake because it makes more sense. Tina says, in my social media posts, I'll search for hours and hours for the right image rather than settling for one. Absolutely. So spending hours proofing, not delegating your work because you believe that you are the only one, like setting logic aside that you are the only one that can do it, right? No one will do it as well as you. When, let's be honest, if we set our egos aside, maybe there are plenty of people who could do it better than us. What do you think? So the question around perfectionism that I love you to ask yourselves as you move through and as you find yourself sort of doing these things is, what are you afraid of? You know, what's the worst that could happen if you sent something out with a typo? Would your entire business come crashing down around you? Probably not. And as somebody who has had some spectacular typing errors in my history, and considering what I do for a living, yeah, it's not great. Well, that's it. Yeah, Robbie says, on the rare occasion I've posted something that I'm not 100% happy with, I get more likes. Yeah, because nobody cares the way that you care. You know, nobody's looking at the detail the way that you look at the detail. Tina says, yes, I expect others to delegate their social media to me, but I struggle to pass on work to others. Yeah. So it's really common. It's like, well, I know how to do this. I do it best, you know, but there are other experts in the world that may be able to support you, especially so that you can spend time focusing on the areas of your business that you make money doing, rather than this kind of spinning your wheels stuff that might take some other expert 10 minutes to do and you spend 3 hours on because it's got to be perfect, right? So that's the kind of stuff that it's really such a drain on our energy, but it could be taken really easily up by somebody else. You should try that. Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to get into that, Tina, as well, a little bit later on, of like what to do instead. So we're just sticking with the where we're going slightly awry for now. So trying to appeal to everybody. So I don't know, a lot of the time I come across people who are really, really fixated on keeping everybody happy, right? And not necessarily having one specific audience. And they're trying to, here I think this, but then I think that, and we contradict ourselves sometimes when we're trying to be as broadly appealing as possible. And there's very few brands that actually are successful with that, because what happens when you try and appeal to everyone, you turn yourself down, you know, you turn the volume of you down, and then you sort of, your message gets really, really diluted and lost realistic. Oh, of course somebody's trying to phone me now. Oh dear, it's the school too. All right, I can't. Oh dear. Pardon me, girls, ladies. All right. pardon me, that's unusual. The school's calling me. That doesn't happen very often. Of course, it's good timing for me. Yes, so trying to appeal to everybody, never having a firm position on anything. There's nothing that makes it more of a struggle to connect with your audience than them not being able to figure out where you stand. And whether that's like a big political issue or an environmental issue, or, you know, just like, you know what, I really love the color purple. That's my color. I'm taking a stand for the color purple. Once you can sort of get into that headspace, you start to find like-minded people and you build your community around the things that you have in common. But you can't do that if you're saying, you know what, I like purple, but I really like pink, and also blue's quite nice. You know, it's a really sort of light-hearted example, but you can kind of see where your message starts to be diluted when you're saying, yes, 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 I love everything. It's all great. You know, it's harder to connect. You should answer the call. Yes, that's all right. That's cool. Thanks everyone for being so supportive. I'll circle back in a second. And also the last thing is that quite often I was looking for examples of my own branding before branding, because it's very exactly bland branding that I thought I needed to have because I needed branding. But I hadn't put any thought into it. It wasn't something that I loved and that I really like. Every time I look at my stuff now, I go, oh my God, these are my colors. I love it so much. And it was kind of muted tones and unclear. Like every time, I'm pretty sure if any of you look at my stuff, you probably look at it now and go, yeah, that's Lizzie's. I totally see that as hers. So that's something that is definitely part of loving your brand, loving your business, is finding the colors, the voice, the tone that suits you and your personality, and working your business around that, rather than just trying to figure out what other people like most. Doesn't matter, you know. What you like most is what matters, because that's where you'll feel the most comfortable in your own skin. Yeah, in my humble opinion. Okay, so here we go. Apologizing for ourselves. Show of hands, who has done sorry for the delay, or using the word sorry, or using the word I'm just popping in, or I'm just doing this, or I'm just I used to work with this lovely chick, and I really, really enjoyed her company. Yeah, we got a lot of yeses on that. And she's like, it's just so-and-so calling. It's just, I'm sorry. And oh my goodness gracious, like you're just making a phone call. And my guess is that she was a bit of an introvert as well, which is an interesting contradiction as a journalist too. And it's just Hannah, and I just wanted to know. Like, dude, stop the just. And also something to do in terms of apologizing for ourselves. Quite often what we do is we anticipate somebody's answer before they've even given it to us. So we're anticipating a rejection, or we're trying to, I don't know, protect ourselves instead of waiting for someone to. It's an Australian English thing. Italians are commenting on it last night, says Leanne. Yeah, well, there you go. It's a cultural anomaly then. So lucky this isn't an all Australian audience today. So something that we do, really common, is that we anticipate. So we make the assumption that somebody isn't going to want to hear the thing that we have to say, or isn't going to read the thing that we've written, or isn't interested in what we have to offer before we've even given them a chance to say it for themselves. So what I would advise, generally speaking, is to give the people in your universe, or the people who are new to your universe, the opportunity to make up their own minds, right? You give them the chance to say yes or no. And yes, rejection stings, but not everybody's going to like you. You don't like everybody in the world either. So like, fair's fair, right? It doesn't matter. And if you can set that aside, if you can set that sort of connection to, they've got to like me, and just let that go, then you may find you have an easier time, and let that anticipation of they're going to say no, or they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to want somebody else. Like, don't anticipate, just allow the moment to happen and see how it goes, right? Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so no more sorries, no more just. No more anticipating. Okay, that is my request. I'm pretty sure this is number 5. I'm keeping up with myself. So number 5 is copying others. So when we're unsure of our own brand, we're unsure of ourselves, we tend to start nabbing stuff from other people. It's not even necessarily people that we like. It's just people that we see as successful and go, oh, they're doing something successful. I want to be successful. I'll do that. And what it comes across as is, this person's trying really hard, or this person's just a copycat, or this person just doesn't know what they want to do for themselves. So they're just pulling other people's stuff. Sometimes it comes out using like it's more than appropriation. It's like using other people's imagery, especially if it's using it without crediting the person who you've taken it from. Like that's kind of the ultimate business no-no, right? But it can be done when we're feeling insecure and we just really want people to get on board with our brand. We really want them to like us and grab attention, but it's counterproductive in the end because it's not you, right? What I would really encourage is that you trust yourself, you trust your voice, you trust that you already have the perfect thing to say or show in your own perfect way, even if it's not what's the trending whatever. That's okay. It doesn't have to be. You don't need to be a world beater. Well, if you want to be a world beater, go ahead, but do it in your way, in your own pace. Yeah. So what's next? Aha, hang on. Oh, yes, that was number 4. My apologies. So assuming people don't want to hear from us is a really common one too. I've got a client in my membership who she doesn't want to send emails ever. She doesn't want to send emails to her list, even though she has a sizable list, because she doesn't want to bother them. Right? I bet there's a couple of people here who have experienced that as well. I've got, oh, I don't want to be that pushy in your inbox every day of the week. I don't want to be that guy. But that doesn't mean the opposite of that is to never, ever, ever work your email list. Email list is there because people have actively asked to hear more from you. So making that assumption, that's a false assumption that people don't want to hear from you, right? They've chosen to follow you. They've chosen to hear from you in whatever context. So not sending the email, not posting the post, not recording the thing is doing your audience and yourself a massive disservice. Okay. So making that assumption is another, that's probably one of the most common things that happens to us introverts who go, I can't send that. I can't do it. When actually that's really what's important. Okay, so I mean, I'm not a really negative person. It's probably the most time I will spend in negative town, and there's certainly, we're kind of done with that now. So let's talk about the top 5 turnarounds for that. All right, so internalize the phrase, perfectly imperfect is perfectly perfect, right? Seriously. And that's what we touched on earlier, is that when things go awry, you probably actually get more engagement because there's a realization that there's an actual person behind the account rather than just this pristine robot type. Yeah. Number 2, picture yourself talking to somebody you care about. That's a big one, especially for us introverts. We want to make that connection with people, but we need to do it on our own terms, and that's totally fine. Number 3, keep your blinkers on, looking straight ahead. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Number 4, this is my personal favorite. Leanne will know this very well. Give less of a shit, because we're supposed to be having fun here. And the more seriously you take it, the more it is all over your face. So less of a shit, please. Yeah. And number 5, I'm going to expand on each of these as well. But number 5 is keep showing up. Because you know what? It gets easier the more you do it, right? Even if it sucks the first time. First time I ever got on a live was in a private space, and that's actually something I'll talk about later as well, is where to keep showing up, because that's an important thing too. First time I got on a live, I broke out in a massive sweat. I had prickles climb up my neck and into my face. I was bright red and very sticky, and my heart was racing, and I kind of raced through it, and I said, oh, hey, I'm Lizzie, and I'm really here. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm so goodbye. And that was it. Awful. But the first step to the next step, to the next step, to now being able to present as a hopeless introvert. I may go have a lie down later, but at least I can speak fairly calmly and clearly now to you guys, because I've practiced a whole hell of a lot. So we'll get to that kind of. All right, let's think about it. So perfectly imperfect is perfectly perfect. Do you know, if we're thinking about influences and such now, like I like to think that I wouldn't be influenced by an influencer because I'm a stubborn old goat, but they do spend a lot of time curating imperfection now, because there's so much research out and about showing how better people respond to imperfection beyond this tightly curated image. So I'd be curious to go on Instagram or whatever, go Facebook, Instagram, whatever your socials are, and see if you can pick what has been deliberately made to be imperfect versus people like me who flub their lines and just move on. It's true. Yes, mine is not so perfectly curated. Mine is just, I got to say something and I got to get something out there. That'll do. So, what's this comment? Okay, thanks, Leanne. Have an amazing PT session. Train hard. So imperfection sells, like as Robbie spoke about, like the engagement is often much higher with imperfection. And something else to keep in mind, if we're perfectionist types, is that one, the news cycle is awfully short, you know, like is anybody going to be thinking about that errant E other than you in the next 10 days? No. Is anyone going to be thinking about it at all? People might not even notice it unless they're like you in terms of like perfectionism and the introversion and all those sorts of things. And even then, probably not going to care, you know? So all of that is kind of internalized stuff, this perfectionism. There's also the chance that people might not even have seen your post because, you know what, algorithms do this and that, and you like it maybe hasn't hit every single person, or maybe that post wasn't that interesting anyway. Like, and I'm not saying this to disparage anybody's work, just to sort of really minimize the amount of stress that you put on yourself when it comes to putting things out into the world. And I suppose my last point to that effect is, do you know what? Mistakes are going to happen. And it's more about how you deal with it than that they happened in the first place. So for anybody who's kind of new to my universe, I have a group that's the Get It Done Facebook group, which I can't even remember what it's called. It's Get It Done, hit publish with confidence, love your entrepreneurial life. And for better or worse, I managed to put an additional A into the word entrepreneurial, and then save it on this group, me as a copywriter and as an editor who's supposed to be fairly solid on the details. And then, I managed to make this epic typo that I was stuck with for an entire month because you can't change the group name. And did I cringe into my socks deeply? Yes, I did. Did I make an immediate joke out of it? Yes, I did. So there was a banner on our group for the entire month of maybe May that said, yes, I know there's an extra A in entrepreneurial. Sorry. Like, what else can you do? So it's just about remembering that this is supposed to be a fun experience. This is not the be all and end all. Like, your business isn't going to fail because you made a typo. Right? That's not how it works. And realistically, nobody's looking as hard as you're looking. And if they are, well, they're probably fairly negative people, so who cares? So that's kind of the attitude I choose to take anyway. Whether it's true or not, it's a different conversation. All right. yeah, tip number 2, picture yourself talking to someone you care about. So what words would you use? How would you speak compared to somebody who you were hoping to have them spend money with you? Would it be different? Should it be different? I'd argue no. I tend to speak to people as if they're all close friends, you know. It's kind of easier to remember if you've got the one way of speaking, the one way of interacting with people. And I suppose I'd ask you a question is, how would you see yourself? You know, oh, parcels have arrived. How would you see yourself if you were speaking to a friend versus speaking to a potential customer? Would you see yourself differently? Would you have all those negative thoughts around, oh, I'm not good at sales? If you were just having a friendly conversation with somebody, would that be different? Would you be feeling that hotness that we introverts tend to get when somebody's looking at us? I definitely don't enjoy being the center of attention. I get hot, I blush really, really easily, but I don't have that experience when I'm talking to people that I know, like, and trust. So try and embody that feeling if you can, as you're going through your social media, going through your emails, everything like that. Use the words that you'd use with a close friend or a family member and see how that changes the way you feel about what you're saying and about, you know, the fact of the conversation that you're having, whether it's a written conversation or a verbal one, well, recorded or whatever. That's a big coping mechanism for me, and that's kind of the thing that I do most for my clients as well. Is, you know, I really focus on conversational copy, right? We want to engage in warm words, warm conversation. What does that look like for you? And could somebody recognize your words just for looking at them on the page? What do you think? So have a think about that. How would you see yourself if you were just having a conversation with a friend? And what would you be worrying about, or if anything at all? Okay. Number 3 is keep your blinkers on. Who cares what anybody else is doing, right? It's one of these ultimate pressures that we have is, oh, so-and-so is looking at me, or they're doing this, and they've only been in business for 3 months, but they've made $600,000 already, and I've only made $50. So, right, your story is not their story. So I'd really, really encourage anyone who's still figuring it out to keep their blinkers on, right? Don't look over your shoulder. Don't look at anybody else. You're running your own race. So however anyone else gets to where they're going makes no difference to how you do what you do. You've got to do your race, your way, in your own pace, right? And just because somebody decides that working 24 hours a day is for them doesn't mean it's for you. So, you know, don't worry about it. Don't worry about how other people are doing things, or if the extroverts in the room are really loud and bright and crazy and you're just quiet, because then, you know what? You'll find other beautifully quiet, peaceful people who are repelled by extroverted, wild, noisy types. You know, don't worry about it. Keep your blinkers on. Yes, give less of a shit. This is my general motto, is that, yes, okay. In fact, one of my amazing members, my client Odette, has the best attitude to this. She says, we take our business seriously, but not ourselves, which I think is a really great one. This is Tina's favorite one too. Yes, give less of a shit, have some fun, test some boundaries of your own. And the further you push your boundaries, the easier it's all going to be. You don't want to feel like your business is a burden. So the less you give a shit, the more you go, oh, well, that didn't go, or that didn't go the way I planned. All right, cool. You know, the easier time it's going to be. So please just enjoy what you do. You know, like it's life's hard enough without feeling like you've got this great weight on your shoulders for the work that you do, when it's making such a big difference to people in ways you won't even know about. And the more that you can set the tone, the more that you can be a leader, as somebody who doesn't give a shit, who loves their business, who loves what they do, you're setting the example for other people to follow that as well and love their business and get out of their skin and be less shy and be less hesitant to just do what they love. Robbie says, a great saying of mine, anything worth doing is going to be hard work. Sure, but it doesn't have to, hard work doesn't have to be unenjoyable. Is that the word? Is that a word? I don't know. Something like that. Not enjoyable. I mean, I work hard, definitely, like a bit too much, and I'm trying to figure that out, but I still love what I do. Let's see, going outside of one's comfort zone. Yes, it's not easy, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes, for sure. Definitely, Robbie. Like, you just got to push and push and push. And like, that doesn't matter if you retreat back to what you know, right? But you got to keep trying, right? If you don't keep trying, then you're going to be stuck. And then that becomes a loop as well, right? Of like, oh my God, I haven't stepped out of my comfort zone, and now I'm still an introvert. Like, you're always going to be an introvert, and that is totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. It's just about testing what you are comfortable with, maybe stretching it a little bit, and tiny steps towards finding a middle ground that works for you. Yeah. Next up is keep showing up. So that's it kind of follows on from give less of a shit, is keep showing up. So the thing to do here, especially if you're feeling shy, especially if you're feeling hesitant, two options. One, like I was just talking about my group earlier, please feel free to come in and do a live just to practice, right? Find a safe space, even if it's not my group. I don't care. Like, find a safe space for you to come and practice, because the more you do it, even if it's not to your audience, if it's just to test the waters and see what you feel you can cope with for now, the easier it's going to be when it does come to doing it for real. So practice, show up, find an accountability buddy, like someone that you can talk to, that you feel comfortable speaking in front of, and practice whatever your presentation is, practice whatever your reels are going to be for the month, and just try things out. Even if it's just a matter of recording what you do and playing it back for yourself. Like, if you're really, really shy and you want to just hold on to it, the more you say it out loud, getting it out of your body, out of your brain, out of your mouth, will make a massive, massive difference to the way that you come across when it comes to going more public. And the last thing I want to say about that, and the keep showing up, especially when it comes to photos. So I'm lucky enough that I work with an incredible photographer month in, month out, and I've known her for a really long time. So I've had the chance to become very comfortable in front of the camera. How are we for salty language? Is anybody particularly offended by bad words? So I'll modify if so. So before I met her, and I apologize, salty language ahead, I had to hurry up and take the fucking photo face. It was like, yeah, I'm in a camera, I love it. And that was my face for every single photo. And I've got this amazing friend who has just had a billboard put up in my town, and her face is just, I hate photos. And so it's another thing. It comes across when you're uncomfortable. So the more you can do it, the more you can show up, the more comfortable you become, the less of a shit you give. And the more you just find a way to embrace and enjoy in your own way, the easier this is all going to be. And the less you'll have the hurry up and take the fucking photo face, which is kind of a disaster. So that's kind of my top tips for getting the most out of being an introvert in your branding, in your marketing. Is there any questions to come through from anyone who's been on today? You're welcome to jump on and talk if you'd like to, or even if questions, comments, thoughts, considerations, feel free. Let's open the floor.
I have a question. how important is it to do those lives and videos and reels, you know, where you're actually speaking?
Okay, no questions, really great tips. Thanks, Tina. Tina may be able to answer this one as well. So I'll give you my take, and then I'll see if Tina has anything else that she'd like to add. So when you don't necessarily, thanks for the question, Robin, you don't necessarily have to be going live all the time. And this is me eating my breakfast, and now I'm down in the garden. But when it's a recorded version of you versus a still version of you, your audience is able to get a much better sense of who you are as a person. And so you could be all like poised and perfect, or even just a bit of a mess in your photos, but it doesn't give people the full understanding of your amazing personality. Even if it's a quiet personality, you're probably quite understated and together, but they're not going to know quite as well, get as good a sense of you from a still image compared to some kind of video. Tina, would you really important. Does that kind of stack up in your experience?
It does, but what I'd like to just, and this is me being really raw, so I'm a social media manager.
Yeah.
And the reason I've jumped on today is because I'm an introvert, and I've been doing social media forever, but I've sort of revamped. I used to be a VA as well. So I'm doing 12 months of training in social media, so I'm up with the latest things. We just did our session on video marketing, so doing all this sort of stuff. And I'm just shuddering because I'm the introvert. I'm a social media manager, and I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But what I would recommend, and this is what I'm doing, is as Lizzie just suggested, is get some photos taken first. So I'm collaborating actually with one of, Miranda's. Yes. She had some photos taken. So they're really affordable packages. And she does like just a set of lifestyle images that look really natural. So that's going to be my first step. Just do photos first.
Yeah.
And then, like Lizzie's saying about just practicing and things like that, then, I'm starting to do little videos, but I'm not talking on them yet. So it's just me in a mastermind group or stuff like that. So I'm struggling with it, but I know I need to do it.
For sure.
But I do also recommend that, or just suggest that don't do what's, totally uncomfortable, like Lizzie said, because at the end of the day, you're wanting to get clients that suit you. There's no point pretending you're someone else, and then you're going to attract the wrong people anyway. Exactly. So also keep that in mind. Yeah. But little steps is what I suggest. And me, I'm being totally honest here. I sell social media, and that's what I'm doing. So still keep true to yourself, like Lizzie has said all through this. Don't do what you're totally uncomfortable with, but maybe just experiment or, that's
absolutely. Thanks for that, Tina. Did you want to come back there, Robbie? You look like you had some thoughts.
I knew that was going to be the answer.
I know.
But that's good.
Yeah.
And I think, for me and for a lot of people, it's really just about, just stepping out of your comfort zone. And, that's where the real growth happens. And you just do it just in small little steps, as you said before.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be like, I'm committing to 50 reels a week, and I'm going to be pointing, and I'm going to be singing. And it doesn't have to be that, because if that's not your natural style, and you don't want that kind of person coming to you, don't do it.
Yes. That's right. Don't do it.
You're right.
Nothing extreme.
No. And that's something, I don't know, I didn't say it this time, but something that's really important to keep in mind. I kind of touched on, like, not everybody's going to like you. That's great. You don't want everyone, like, if you don't want everybody to like you, you want like your people to come to you, your people to like you, the people who like my membership is full of people that I now consider family, like they're so like me, or like we're all vastly different, but we're also got like similar values, similar sense of humor. Like we work together, we bond together, we do things as a unit, and we share ideas and we collaborate. because we're all similar people, you know, like, and so as much as I'm a bit of a goof and I dress really loud and I do things my own way, that's useful for somebody, and that'll turn a bunch of people off, and that's great, because I don't want people who don't like me in my space. No thanks, you know, what a waste. But there will be somebody for them, and that's great too.
That's
It
right.
works out for everybody. So yeah, don't just do whatever you need to do, Robbie, in your own way, in your own time, I think is the ultimate.
Yeah,
That's just like Tina
Thanks.
was saying there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Yes, so that's kind of it for the teaching phase. Now, what I have promised, what I ordinarily do in this second half of my workshops is I go through and I analyze some of the work. Like sometimes people who come to the workshop submit something. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to have one of my members put some stuff in. So today I have Miranda. Cool. All right. So I have Miranda's work, who's one of my fabulous members. So I just got a message from her. So it's just a weird coincidence, right? So I'm going to share my screen again. And this is what we do in the check-in. Every week, I have the benefit of looking in on my members' stuff, and I tweak it and polish it within an inch of its life, and then they get to send it out into the world, or they come back the following week with more thoughts and ideas. So I'm going to put my lovely specs on, because, you know, I'm a responsible adult some days, and we're going to go through it so you guys can see Miranda's work here. Yeah, cool. All right, let's go into suggest mode. All right, so yeah, okay, so let's start. So this is a social media post. Miranda is looking to get more reviews on her Google My Business page. So that's actually something that I've been prompting everybody to do, and it'd be great for you guys. Tina, I don't know if you've got your Google business profile all set up.
Somewhat, yes.
Somewhat, yes, definitely pay attention to it. It's great for SEO, great for people, for social proof, great for people to understand more about your brand. So anybody who doesn't have that sorted out yet, please go and figure it out. Or if you need help with it, let us know. There's plenty of resources to get you through. But it's a massive help in being found and having people understand your value as a service provider. Or I don't know if you're into products, same. Okay, so I want to boot, like, Miranda, I would not start with how this benefits you first. Because that kind of disconnects the reader already. So I want to boost my Miranda Health profile. So that's all about you as the business owner. What we want to turn it around into is how does this benefit the audience that your Google business profile will be better serviced? Yeah. So let's do it. My Miranda Health profile on Google Business has been around for a while now. I'd love your help. Oopsie, pardon me. I get there in the end. I'd love your help seeing my profile to reach more deserving clients just like you. More people can see it, more I can help. So see how we've turned that around to be not about Miranda anymore, but about her people or more people, how we can benefit society. So it becomes less about, I'd really love some reviews so my business looks good, into I want to help more people. Help me help society, you know? So it's just got a different feel to it. I'd appreciate you taking 5 minutes of your busy day to leave a review on my Miranda Health Google page, Google business profile. You can comment on any of the following services you've engaged with. And again, this is conversational, so don't worry about, you know, gravitate towards contractions. We want to talk to people as if we're talking to people. Cool. Exercise physiology, ergonomic workstation assessment, manual handling training. For every person who leaves a positive review, wow, that's a big deal. Are you sure, Miranda? Wouldn't you want to put them in the running for this rather than like outright exchanging a review for a $20 voucher? I don't know. This feels like it could be in a very expensive incentivification program. I'm going to leave a question mark on this for you, bud, because I wonder, are you sure? Could you?
She is a generous soul and gives too much away.
Say again, Tina.
Miranda is a generous soul and gives too much away.
She does, which is why I'm going to question it with so much love, because I mean that would like potentially could bankrupt her if she really
yeah, and people take advantage, like
exactly.
Yeah.
Are you sure? My personal suggestion would be to have a draw. You could go in the running and maybe make it $50. I would, or $100 or whatever, like think about what she would actually end up spending, get a much smaller sum, but still there's that encouragement to have the chance of this, right? I would up the prize offer, but change it to having the chance. Oops, pardon me. Yes, my typing is atrocious. I fix everything in the end. So,
and I think put a deadline on it. So, you know, maybe give them 2 weeks to do it or something.
Totally. Yeah, urgency is a great incentivizer as well. Totally. Thanks, Robbie. Yes.
Okay, when she's going to, you know, draw the lucky winner.
Exactly. Yep. I totally agree with this. You sure? I would up the prize offer, but change it to chance of winning. Then create urgency through having a cutoff date. Say 2 weeks later. So then this could become a series of posts as well. Don't forget, you know, and yes, absolutely. You could like, it can be an X dollar voucher of the winner's choice, but at a higher level, but you only send out one, right? I think that would be a much more cost-effective way of doing this. And I totally get, you're such a generous soul, and that's wonderful, but you don't need to be a bankrupt generous soul. So let's do that. You need to be an existing or past client, and we'll be double checking that you are. So this is this thing again, Miranda, and it's not just you, lots and lots and lots and lots of people do it, is this kind of shift between the singular and the plural. So there's I and my, and then there's we and our. And I get that you have staff working for you. I so completely understand the background of that, but within the one post, it's kind of confusing. So I would just keep it singular for this. I will be double checking that you are, because, you know, you're the face of the brand, and nobody necessarily needs to know that there's a team behind the scenes unless you want to. And then it kind of needs to, it's kind of an all or nothing thing for this post, or for posts in general. We either talk about the singular or we talk with the plural. So decide. I will be double checking that you are. All you need to do, qualify this gift, is post a review, screenshot your review, and then, you know, and then you'll be put into the prize draw, notified on XYZ date. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I want to take some, thank you for your ongoing support of my small business. I hope, Miranda, that you will send this as an email as well. Send email list. So this is totally fine for you to send exactly as it is. Oh, I've got a comment. What does the comment say? Robbie needs to leave. That's cool. I think we've done this post as best as we need. There is no reason why we can't have exactly the same thing on a social media post as an email. No reason why not at all, because not everybody sees everything. And even if they do, they've just had a reiteration of what's been said. So that's probably where we'll kind of wrap things up. Is there anything anybody wanted to cover before we go? No. Awesome. All right. Well, look, thanks everybody for popping along and having a little learn with me. We'll do the same next month. I can't remember what the theme is yet, but just like keep an eye out. We'll do it then. Thank you so much for coming and learning and interacting with me. This is a fabulous session. I'll send it to everybody who's on the list as a replay as well. So if there's anything that you'd like to circle back to, it will be there when you're ready. All right. Happy Monday.
Thanks, Lizzie.
Thanks so much for coming, Tina. Have a great Monday. All right. Bye-bye.